Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our session, and thank you for joining this very early in the morning. Our session today is on a topic that is very important to all of us here, and that is on how we can improve the economic integration of refugees, mainly to share what we can learn for the future and what we have learned so far in all our institutions that we represent here. My name is Nita Krasnici, and I am representing the Council of Europe Development Bank, where I work, and I will also be moderating this session. With me here today, we have Erdal Kojolo, who is working as a regional director at Frankfurt School of Finance and Management, where he's overseeing technical assistance operations in Turkey, Caucasus, and Central Asia region. Welcome. We have Filippo Chiesa, who is head of social impact management and responsible for social projects at Permicro, a microfinance institution in Italy. And last but certainly not least, we have joining us online Eva Bankowska, who is the deputy director of the Microfinance Center. And as I said, we will be discussing today more practical examples on projects of refugee and displaced person integration, both providing financial and non-financial services. And we believe it's going to be a very interesting session, especially seeing, and you will see later on, the interventions from our panel members. And as this is a very important topic for everyone, as I said, it also is for the Council of Europe Development Bank, where a key focus of our work is in integration of refugees and forcibly displaced persons from the moment we were set up. So the bank was set up in 1965 following the Second World War, and the main purpose was to address the population displacements in Europe after the Second World War. So this is really ingrained in our DNA, and we are working, it's our bread and butter, and we're working with this quite intensively. And we approach the issue in sort of two stages or in two steps, two separate approaches, which sometimes are consecutive, sometimes are also running in parallel. So firstly, addressing some fundamental needs, such as housing and healthcare, which are, essential to enable individuals to settle and to build on their life, and to be able to then consider other aspects of economic integration. And examples of such projects and initiatives are many. I would like to mention maybe some that are done with the support of other donors, because as we said yesterday, we also believe at the CEB that partnerships are very important. I can mention the regional housing program implemented in the Balkans with the support of various donors, and that was financing housing solutions for those people internally displaced and as well externally throughout the Western Balkans after the Balkan Wars. We also have several projects in Türkiye, which are focusing on healthcare mainly, also implemented with the support of the EU, addressing the needs of Syrian refugees, but also of the host communities. So really building this base of addressing these more sort of basic needs, which once they would have been met, or sometimes in parallel, we also shift or focus on addressing other needs that would foster the true economic integration of this group. And that would be, improving access to education or employment, also access to finance, and, providing pathways to self-employment. Today, I would like to share maybe one of the projects that we are currently implementing, which is also funded by the European Union, by the Asylum, Migration and Integration Fund, which is called PAMFI. So it's a fancy or, funny acronym for saying that it's an initiative focused on partnerships and financing for migrant inclusion, because it aims to test the use of financial instruments and different partnerships, multi-stakeholder partnerships for migrants, refugees, and forcibly displaced persons. PAMFI has 4 sub-projects, and it's implemented. It's a pilot project. It's quite small, but still, I dare say, very impactful so far. We have 4 sub-projects, one in Finland, which is called SMILE, again, another acronym, which is very interesting. And I can say that the project staff are always, feeling under pressure that they have to smile all the time. It's implemented by the city of Vanta, so really local level intervention, where we have measures on supporting educational outcomes of refugee children by supporting extracurricular activities and supporting their parents to find employment pathways through cooperating with migrant-led NGOs that are providing employment coaching. Then the other three projects are more focused on access to finance and employment. So they are implemented together with microfinance institutions. In Italy, we have the Empower project, which is implemented by a partnership of 7 partners, really multi-stakeholder. And we have one of them here, Permicro, which is helping migrants and refugees to, in terms of education, convert their educational credits that they have earned in their countries of residence, and providing business development services such as training, financial inclusion training, as well as access to microcredit for those that want to pursue the path of self-employment. In the Netherlands, the microcredit institution Credits is providing an entrepreneurial training for migrants. And in addition to this business development service support, they also provide access to microcredit, which is supported through the CEB by a loan guaranteed by the InvestEU. This means they are able to provide more favorable terms to the migrants. And last but not least, we have a project that is implemented in Belgium, in Brussels, by another microfinance institution, Microstart, which provides business development services, access to microcredit, but also is working a lot on awareness raising with migrant communities of these opportunities for entrepreneurship and employment, as well as on raising the awareness and advocacy of the state institutions on addressing these very, very important issues. So the project is implemented in a bottom-up approach, and the activities and the 4 sub-projects were proposed really by actors that are working in the field, that know best what the needs are and what should be done. Many of these applications and of the 4 projects, as you could see, the majority of them are implemented either by microfinance institutions or in cooperation with a microfinance institution. So this shows really the important role that microfinance institutions can play in, the employment and self-employment and economic integration of migrants, refugees, and forcibly displaced people. So on that note, I would also like to ask Eva to share with us a little bit on their point of view as a microfinance center covering quite widely the European continent, what their views are on this from the MFI side. Eva?
Yes. Thank you, Nida, so much, and good morning to everyone. Thank you for having me virtually here with you. Just to be on the same side in terms of numbers, so I've just checked, and according to UNHCR data, we have currently 13 million refugees in Europe, in this region we are covering today in this session. Almost 50% of these are Ukrainians. With actually Poland and Germany hosting the biggest number of Ukrainian refugees, on average 1 million each. And why I'm mentioning it, because it's a very interesting case, Poland and Germany, when we have in Germany only 20% of Ukrainians are economically active, while in Poland we have 60% of them. And look, one can say that Germany obviously would offer better social benefits to refugees than Poland, but actually the case might be different. Ukrainians in Poland have much better access to labor market. The barriers are lower, and also it's much easier for them to kick off, to start the business here. To register the business in Poland is easier than in Germany. In the last 2 years in Poland, there were more than 50,000 business solo enterprises registered by Ukrainians. So this kind of leads us to the when we are discussing the financial inclusion and especially economic activity, business activity of refugees, it's important to say that language and administrative requirements are key issues when considering when talking about entrepreneurship of refugees. Polish is very similar to Ukrainian. It's easy to learn. It's easy to communicate with the clients. And as I said, these administrative barriers are much lower. So so giving this number of refugees in Europe, from other data, we know that we can say that on average 6% of migrants, including refugees, are entrepreneurial, which gives us a number of 800,000 entrepreneurial refugees in Europe. And here coming to so this is potential demand for financial services to finance the businesses. And on the side of supply, we know that not many financial institutions serve refugees. Actually, this number is very low. Out of, say, around 82 microfinance institutions in Europe, only 20 or 21 really deliver services to migrants. So this number of financial institutions serving refugees is even smaller. It's great really to see that in the last 2 years after the breakout of the war in Ukraine, especially in the neighboring countries like Romania, like Georgia, like Bulgaria, some financial institutions started really to provide services to refugees. Just to mention Syscredit, Syscredit in Bulgaria, Crystal in Georgia, and some Romanian MFIs. But still, this number is very small. The demand is big, but the supply is rather the demand for financial services, for financial products is small, but big, but the supply is small. Thank you for now.
Thank you, Eva. Thank you, Eva, and well heard, well noted. Indeed, the demand is there, and I think it would be very useful, as I said in the beginning, that we hear some practical examples from the field, from initiatives implemented to see what has worked, what did not work, and maybe what we can take on in the future. First, I would like to invite Erdal to share with us a practical example of economic integration measures that have been taken to foster Syrian refugee job creation and MSME empowerment in Turkey.
Thank you very much, Nida. Good morning, everyone. I think this panel discussion is complementing what we have discussed over the last 2 days, because, you know, over the last 2 days, we were focusing on financial inclusion of refugees, but that's just one part of the picture. And obviously, we need to think a little bit broader for the economic and social integration of those refugees. And financial inclusion is just one part, but we need to focus on the employment prospect as well. And today, I would like to share with you our experiences in Turkey while implementing 2 programs focusing on the employment of refugees. But before I start, I thought it would be, I think, useful to give you some background information about Turkey, assuming that you might not have the complete picture. I have prepared a couple of slides for you. Turkey is one of the major host countries globally, and according to the latest statistics provided by UNHCR, I think we are the number 2 in all over the world after Iran. And I think 2 or 3 years ago, we were the number 1. So Turkey is located on the migration pathway to Europe. All those FDPs, refugees planning to go to Europe, they are stopping over in Turkey. And if they can manage to go to Europe, okay, they are in Europe. But if they cannot, they are in Turkey. Since our program is focusing on Syrian refugees, here I have put a graph for the evolution of Syrians under temporary protection in Turkey. But this is not all. I mean, we have, in addition to Syrians, around 1 million Afghans after the exit of US from Afghanistan. Many Afghan people are also, moving from the country to Turkey. And we have also lots of FDPs coming from Africa, coming from the Middle East. So in my country, usually we are referring to the overall FDP numbers like 5-6 million quite easily. And among these 5-6 million, 3.1 million belongs to the Syrians, and Turkey has granted them a temporary status. So we were believing that when the civil war started in Syria, Syrians will be our guests, which means that they will go back to their country when the war is over. But right now, we all have seen that this is not possible. So they are in the country, and we are seriously discussing how we can integrate Syrians economically and also socially. And here you can also see the profile of those Syrians in the country. And as you can see, around 1.5 million of them are at the working age. But the critical point is they are working in the informal economy. Only 100,000 of them has received work permit, official work permit, which is accounting for like more or less 9 to 10%, which is nothing. Informal sector is already playing a critical role, is already huge in the country, like 27% for Turkish people, but it is going up to 90% for Syrians. And obviously we need to find a way to turn those informal employment into a formal employment. And there is another thing I would like to mention about Turkey, that is the facility for refugees in Turkey, launched by the European Commission and the member states in 2016. So when the crisis gets bigger and bigger, European member states and Turkey, they have decided to create a facility to help those Syrians in the country, and they have created the FRIT facility, and they have allocated serious amount of funding for the facility. Right now, the overall amount allocated for the facility reached a level of 10 billion euros since 2016. Obviously, at the first stages of FRIT facility, the focus was on the basic needs, about the shelter, about the health, education, border management. But over time, we have discovered that this is not enough, and we need to think seriously about economic and social integration of Syrians, those refugees. And here I have put a couple of project ideas or concepts we are right now discussing in Turkey. So we need to definitely define some mechanisms for adaptation of Syrians to the labor market. And here we are talking about, vocational education, certification programs, job profiling, and so on. Entrepreneurship is definitely the other point, because these people, Syrians, before they come to Turkey, they were the entrepreneurs in their country. And entrepreneurship culture is quite sophisticated in Syria, to say the least. So therefore, we need to provide them a conducive environment in the country so that they can also establish their own companies and they can do business. And this is also useful for the country because in a way, these Syrians, they are speaking Arabic, and they have already established ties, especially with their own countries, but plus the Middle East countries. Therefore, they are creating an export potential for Turkey as well. And job creation, that's the topic of our projects. And we need to find ways of how we can increase employment opportunities for the refugees. And the other one is the microfinance. Unfortunately, we don't have microfinance law active in country. So only the commercial banks are providing financing. But this is definitely one of the ideas actively discussed by the European Union right now as an exit strategy from the ESSN. And ESSN stands for Emergency Social Safety Net, which means EU at the beginning, when it happened quite suddenly. You remember the numbers. So it started with like 100,000, and the next year it was like 1 million, and the next year it was like 3 million. But this is creating a huge need so that people can continue, catering for their basic needs. And EU designed a cash assistance mechanism. It's not a big amount. It's like, right now, I think 20 euros per month for each of the individuals in the family. But this was very useful, especially for the start of the program when there was an emergency, really. But right now, we are even thinking about how we can exit from the cash assistance, because obviously this cannot go forever. And we need to find a sustainable exit from ESSN. So let's go back to our projects. Based on this background information, BMZ, German government, has provided funding to two institutions in Turkey, SME Development Agency, COSGAP, and Credit Guarantee Fund. And we have designed an interest rate subsidized program with the financial institutions. So we have raised 10 million euro from BMZ, and out of this 10 million euro, 3.5 million euro was allocated to KGF as a counter guarantee to be used for the loans disbursed to Turkish SMEs. And the remaining 6.5 million was allocated to COSGAP, so that COSGAP can provide interest rate subsidies to those Turkish SMEs who have fulfilled their employment requirements. So this is the basic design of what we have created under the BMZ program. And let me be a little bit more specific about the conditions. So for the guarantee side, the Turkish Credit Guarantee Fund was providing 80% guarantee coverage, which means that that's a risk sharing facility. So 80% of the default risk will be covered by KGF, but the remaining 20% will be covered by our local financial institutions. That's a risk sharing. And plus, they have also introduced a cap ratio. So it's not like, 80% of the individual loan, but 7% of the overall portfolio to limit the risks of the KGF as well. And on the employment side, this is a performance-based payment. So we are not providing any, let's say, fixed interest rate subsidy to those Turkish SMEs. So we have created a competitive tendering process, and we have requested offers from the interested financial institutions. Are you willing to join to this program based on these terms and conditions? And if so, what would be the interest rate you are going to charge to those Turkish SMEs? And afterwards, we have defined an average interest rate, and we turn back to those financial institutions. This is the fixed interest rate. You cannot exceed this. Are you willing to work with this interest rate under this program? And at the end, three of those financial institutions say, okay, we would like to work. And at the bottom, you can see the fixed interest rates over time. And in each and every 3 months period, we are monitoring the progress of employment in these enterprises. And if they have accomplished their targets, then COSGAP is releasing interest rate subsidies. And there we have also provided 2 tranches. So this is just like, positive discrimination for women and youth, because we know that especially among the Syrian community, there are some social perceptions that you need to be aware, especially for the working of females, working of women. Therefore, we had a specific target of 25% of those employees, jobs created within the program should belong to female. And we have increased the interest rate subsidy amount provided to those entrepreneurs employing female and youth. And youth is defined for the people under the age of 30. So it was 40% for regular employment and 60% for female and young. And I think one of the key issues is, again, you need to be designing a program not only serving to the refugees, but you need to cater the needs of host community citizens as well, host country citizens. And that's the reason why we have said 1+1. So you need to create 2 jobs, but one of them should be Syrian refugees or foreigners under international protection, so-called, let's say, FTPs. And the other one should be Turkish citizen. So it's like providing an equal opportunity for the host community and for the refugees as well. And the EU was very firm in terms of job creation. And therefore, we also said you can both create the job or retain the job. But at least if your target is 2, then one of them should be job creation. If your target is 4, then 2 of them should be job creation. So this is the, let's say, basic design. And here you can see in each and every quarter where we are monitoring the progress, we have defined the minimum thresholds for the social security institution premium days. So only for the first monitoring period where we believe that it will take some time for our enterprises to apply for the work permits and to receive the answer from the public authorities. Therefore, only in the first quarter, they need to pay at least 30 premium days for each employees they are providing for the program. But for the rest, at least 60 social security premium days should be paid for each of those employees, need jobs or the retained ones. And here you can see the numbers. Our target was 25 million euro loan portfolio generation, and we have reached 77 million euro portfolio. And the program was targeting, this is a pilot program, that's why the targets are pretty low. 475 SMEs should be benefiting from the program. But we have dispersed loans to more than 1,100 SMEs. And out of them, 585 of them have actually respected their employment obligations, the employment requirements, and they have received interest rate subsidy payments. And here, the number of employments, our target was 950, but at the end we have created and retained close to 1,500. And our target for women employment was 25%, but here you can see we have reached 31%.
Thank you. Erdal, being mindful of the time, maybe
Sure.
for the second project, I don't know if you want to just briefly, 1 minute, share the results.
Absolutely, very briefly.
Because I know it's very similar to the
in the second project, there are two components actually. This one is funded by the EU under the fifth facility. So there is an interest rate subsidy mechanism, very much similar to BMZ funded program. I will not talk about that. But the other one was the grant facility, provided grants to those SMEs who are fulfilling their employment requirements. And there we have created a committee, an objective and transparent committee, receiving applications from the SMEs, investment proposals, and how they are going to, create jobs for the refugees. And based on this evaluation, in each and every 4 months period, we are monitoring them. We are checking the number of employees. We are checking the social security insurance premium days paid. And afterwards, if the conditions are fulfilled, then we are making grant payments. So it's again, performance-based payment. And here you can see the numbers. So far, we have reached around 1,300 SMEs, and the number is growing. This number belongs to the end of September, but the program is ongoing right now. And in terms of employment, we have created and retained jobs for more than 4,000 employees. And 50% of them are Syrians and 50% of them are Turkish citizens. And in terms of job creation, this paid off really well. If you remember, at least 50% should be job creation. But in reality, we have exceeded this target with 66%. And in terms of women employment, this program is again a success story because we have reached 26% women's employment in terms of the outcomes generated.
Thank you. Thank you. I think it's very interesting to see from the employment side, the measures that were implemented, and it's already setting the scene, having covered this part, to move on to the next presentation by Filippo, which will highlight more the role of non-financial services in financial inclusion, mainly leading towards self-employment. Filippo.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for inviting me. Just a few words about PerMicro. PerMicro, it's specialized in microfinance. It's a microfinance institution in Italy, based in Torino, in the north of Italy. We have 70 employees. 30 employees in Torino, based in the headquarters, and the other 14 around Italy. We cover all Italy. We specialize in refugees, but not only in refugees. We would like to give microfinance and finance integration to all population in Italy. But of course, since the beginning in 2007, refugees were one of the most important people where we deal with. So we have 75% of our clients on family, they are refugees or migrant background. And we also do microfinance for business purposes. And for business purpose, we have 25% of clients they have a refugees background. So when you think about Torino, it's yes, it's an Italian city based in the north of Italy. There is a rich region and so on, but Torino is, or maybe was, very important automotive region 20, 30 years ago. Then Fiat decided to move away, first in the south of Italy, and then to move the production in Serbia, in Poland, now in Turkey, and now in Tunisia. So Torino has much social problem, and yeah, the refugees are there is a lack of work, a lack of very sustainable and rich work. So the microcredit can play a big role on it. And the PAMFI and project was really helpful for us. It was a project that we are still doing in the Torino metropolitan area, and we able to help more than 5 with the other 6 partners. We're able to help more than 500 people with refugees or refugee backgrounds to find a job or to find a better job. You have to think about. We deal with 2 different kind of refugees groups. The first groups, it's people that just arrived in Italy. Maybe they are in Italy for 6 months or 1 year, and they need to know where they are, which are the right actors to meet. And so for those people, PerMicro give financial education. We're able to meet more than 100 people in class. We give at least 6 hours of financial education program that can start for the very basic. So how to manage the money, how to go to the supermarket and spend the amount of money that you have per week or per month. So the very basic, and because we start with an idea, as in PerMicro, in the mission of PerMicro, we have economical education, but then we start the program, and we meet people that really needs very basic financial education information and data. An example. The other item is how to find a house, how to deal with this problem, and how to do a budget for that. Apart from that, we have another group of refugees with refugees background. There are people that arrive in Italy maybe since 2010 or something like this, and they really start to work, start to earn some money to live in Italy and to send some money in their country. So they haven't the chance to think about, okay, what I really want to do, which job I really want to do. Many times, there are very good educational background in administration, economic marketing, and so on. But they start in Italy. They start to work as a caregiver or housekeeper, and so on. So the program take them, put in the class, and to rethink about their life, to redesign their professional life. And so we able to think with them. We able to think about the professional needs, and maybe the business idea. So the program give us the chance to not meet customers, but people. To rethink about people in our daily life. We have to meet customers, to give BDS, but then to disburse a microcredit. Instead, the program give us more time, more hours to meet every kind of people, think with them about a business idea, not say just, no, it's not affordable, it's not economically sustainable, so thank you, but we don't have the time to spend with you because you're not able to have a microcredit. So with this program, we help thousands of people to think about the entrepreneurial idea. The half of them, we said, okay, you need more time, you need more experience in the market, you need more experience in Italy about the suppliers, about the clients. So maybe you need a professional program, because if you want to work in the beauty industry, even to do simple things, you need to 3 years program and 3-year education, professional education in that. So the orientation part and the first business development service part was very important for them, and for the other people, the program was still important, because if you analyze the 25 people that we help with the microcredit at the end, you can see that they are even more fragile than the fragile clients that we have, because they normally don't have a very strong network in Italy. They are quite alone. Maybe they live with other people in a small house, but they don't have guarantee, but they neither have a personal guarantee to give to us. But thanks to the program, we help them. Sometimes they did. Our average disbursement in microcredit it's 20,000 euros, but with the program 22,000 euros. With the program, we are able to give less than 70,000 euros for these people, and also we are able to finance the very first stage of business idea. So almost all the people we finance the startup of the idea. Very simple idea. There was a South American woman that are used to work as a caregiver, but at the same time they used to she was used to bring soft drinks in the South American parties, and so we built BDS with there to develop the idea, and now she quit the former job, and she started a business, and so she served all the restaurant in Torino with soft drinks. There are plenty of historic story like this. Women then, especially women, then they able to rethink about their capabilities, their knowledge, and they start a business. Also men. For instance, they want to start a small business, such as a small supermarket, to be able to earn their own money, and to take their own life. The educational part was really important for the other group, and we are able, thanks to the program, we're able to rethink about all our training models, and we start another project. There is sort
Filippo,
of...
let me stop you here. Hold that thought. We will discuss future plans towards the end. I think what you shared is very important, and especially the example of one of your client and beneficiaries that you shared, I think is very interesting and gives a human touch more to what we are doing. I would now, sort of in the same theme, like to pass the floor to Eva, who is going to share with us an example of a similar project to what to what Filippo mentioned to a certain degree, but focused to support of Ukrainian refugees in Poland. Eva?
Yes, yes, thank you, Nida. Indeed, it's a kind of complementary story, so I'm happy to hear. So, Microfinance Center, it's a regional network, but we are actually based in Poland. So, with the outbreak of war in Ukraine, when we saw this big influx of Ukrainian female refugees, so this will be the continuation of topic of support to women, actually. We really wanted to do something for them, but also to work on financial inclusion of these refugees and also get some learnings which we can then share with our member financial institutions. So we wanted to actually provide sort of immediate information, access to information for female refugees on how they can actually start business in Poland, how they can register business in Poland. So. With support of small grant from JP Morgan Chase Foundation, we in the first step we created the virtual platform, or actually the website, one-stop shop with all the information about registering business in Poland in Ukrainian. The platform can be embedded in any website, so by other financial institution or by public administration institutions. So it's easy access to information online, but the second step was actually to get into partnership with NGOs that on daily basis provide different type of support to refugees. So I'm highlighting this word of partnerships. We built capacity of staff of these NGOs we trained them in basic information about how to start business in Poland. So they after 2-day training, they were able to provide basic information on where to go, which type of entity to choose, what's the impact of taxation, what you need in order to start business activity in Poland. Over the course of, I think, 10 months, they delivered sort of consultancies, advice, small talks, a few mentoring to Ukrainian women. And we managed to reach out together to more than 200 women. 50 of them received like kind of more in-depth sort of mentoring, because with time we added also consultancy, a bit on business plan, a bit on marketing, a bit on how to really do business in Poland with Polish customers. And eventually, as of June this year, when we finished the project activities, out of this more than 200 women, 32 registered businesses within as a result of the intervention. 10 more were about to register the businesses, and we know, and we are quite happy about this, that the trained staff of partner NGOs, they continue the work beyond our project. So they embedded these advice services into the daily operations. So we don't know the exact numbers, but the work continues. Our goal was not really to force people into entrepreneurship, but to give them the choice, give them the options, and help them make a decision. And what we learned about these entrepreneurs, these entrepreneurial activities, right? So first of all of these are low investment kind of businesses, right? These are usually service type of businesses. No innovation, no huge investment is needed. Usually these are typical typical businesses like beauty salons, hairdressers, some grocery shops with food for diaspora, after school activities for children, real estate agency for diaspora. So, you know, like really low investment type of businesses, very typical, easy to start, easy to run. So usually these people do not need big support to kick off the business. They need like 2,000-3,000 euro to cover the rental costs of business premises or to buy some basic equipment. So that's the first lessons learned, and the second is that these women, they really appreciated the advice. They are lost in terms of language, they are lost in terms of information. So having somebody who speaks to them in their own language, because that's important that we selected, I forgot to mention is that for the project activities we selected staff of partnering NGOs that actually speak Ukrainian. So having somebody who can give them a bit of support, handhold them for a few weeks to really direct them in the proper direction, so that they don't really waste time on searching the information themselves, trying to understand what's going on. So this was really very much appreciated. We also tried to provide them with access to finance, so create opportunities for access to finance. So we tried to map the sources where they can apply for financial support, and in theory, Ukrainian refugees, they have access to banking services equal as Poles. They also have access to various grant opportunities offered, for example, by labor office. So labor offices in Poland, they offer grants for people who want to start their business. You can apply to get this grant. We trained our group of women, we trained them in how to actually apply. Some of them were supported. However, there was no result. So simply in practice, they were all excluded. None of them was given a grant. And from what we learned, it's not really the quality of the application or business idea. It's just because of their status of being who they are. That's why they have no access to financial services. To financial opportunities. What I think is interesting from the perspective of financial institution is that actually refugees, they usually, or what we observed is that they don't really register the business when they think about just kicking off the business. They rather start first informally without really registering the business. So it means that they try to build the database of clients, they operate in cash, and only after a few months when they are more secured or sure that they can afford renting a place, that they can afford the first investments, then they only think about registering. So even when you think about registered, when the business seems to be new because it's newly registered, it doesn't really mean necessarily that it's very new. It might have a history of at least few months of being in operations with proven success. So to sum up, I think the biggest benefit or sort of outcome at the refugee level in this intervention was that they really got information. They also got this kind of feeling of support, that there is a social network, that there are people who are able to help them think through this decision about registering the business and can direct them into proper direction, can provide because our trainers were not really experts, but they knew where to find the information and they knew the very basics of administrative requirements. So having those people was important for refugees, and we could see clear results that they were simply of registered businesses.
Thank you, Eva, and especially thank you for sharing also why you think that the project and the initiative didn't produce the results that you thought or that you were working towards. I think it's also very important to reflect upon. And after having heard three very practical experiences from our three panelists, I would like to turn a bit to the audience and ask if you have any questions, reactions, or comments on what you've heard so far. Yes, if we can get a microphone.
Hello? Yes. So Tatiana, I'm not going to name my organizations, right, or organizations, sorry, not awake right now, because I'm asking this question as a person, actually. I think it's totally commendable, all of this work that is being done. So it's really warming my heart to listen to that. At the same time, a couple of questions. So to Erdal, do you also trace the quality of jobs that have been created? Because what I'm trying to understand, are all refugees like low literate people, or are there people who are actually were successful in their business, maybe have some credentials that are not recognized in the new country, and then instead of being a dentist or somebody else, they're driving a taxi. Are we losing that potential and that skill? That is one. The second one is, what will happen after the intervention is done? Will these jobs stay there? So, and how do you look at that? And to Eva, my question would be, living in the Netherlands, and I think in Europe, we've all experienced indeed influx of Ukrainian refugees. What I've seen is that gray or semi or informal, let's say, way that they are working is actually distorting the market for other vulnerable group, who are there paying the tax, doing it all registered and so on, beauty industry in particular. And then they're losing clients because, somewhere on the in the at home conditions, another beautician is providing the same, but then much cheaper because they don't need to pay taxes and so on. So how do we look at that? Because both of them are vulnerable groups.
Thank you. Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you very much for the question. So while designing the program, actually this is one of its first example, and this is a pilot program, and we have consciously decided that there will be two main sectors. One of them is manufacturing, which is in line with your argument, actually. In the manufacturing sector, usually you're using your muscles and you don't need high skills. But the other one is computer science. So we just try to find the balance. Both the companies operating in manufacturing sector or in the computer science, they are eligible to receive loans, or they are eligible to apply for the grants in our program. And we believe that one of the key advantages for selecting manufacturing sector was also related with the sustainability of those jobs. Because we saw that those enterprises, those SMEs, they are investing in training of those people. And our program is for like 16 months, for 18 months, quite substantial. So no enterprise will want to lose their trained employees after 18 months. Of course, we are going to conduct this impact assessment, and we are going to see what happened to those people after our programs ended. But we have really receiving quite good signals from the SMEs that they would like to keep those people because they have already invested in training those people. So we believe that this will be also serving positively to the sustainability of those jobs even after the program ended. But right now, I am not in a position to provide you some numbers, but most probably next year, if we can come again, then I can give you some numbers as well about the sustainability.
And did you want to add anything on the quality of the jobs or?
Yeah, for the quality of the jobs, actually, as Turkey, we have invested a lot in the vocational training and the certification programs. So we know that, you know, those Syrian people, they even come to a country without their passport. You know, they were escaping from war. And it was a bit unfair to ask for diplomas, certificates and stuff. But we have created these certification programs under the FRIT facility, and they can easily certify that they have these skills. And they can use those certificates to apply for the jobs requiring those certificates. And in addition to that, under the FRIT facility, more than billions have been spent for the vocational training. But this is also a little bit related with the challenges we are going to discuss. Because yes, on the one hand, we have spent billions for training Syrians, for improving their skills. But on the other hand, when you go to our SMEs within the program, what is the biggest challenge you are facing right now? And the answer is, I cannot find refugees to employ. Excuse me, what happened to those people trained under the vocational training programs? What happened to those billions of euros? I have no idea. I have some guesses, which I cannot tell here. But this is the situation we are facing in Turkey. Therefore, we have the system, but the connection is somehow missing. And I asked openly to the EU delegation, do you have a database really? Who have attended those vocational training programs? Guess what? They don't have a database. So nobody knows what happened to those people. Nobody knows where are those beneficiaries, the names, what kind of skills they have been trained on. So we can easily match them with the open jobs, with the SMEs requiring those skills. But unfortunately, there is no monitoring mechanism. There is no database. Nobody's keeping the records of those beneficiaries, and nobody knows where are they right now.
Thank you. Eva, do you want to provide some of your reflections on the informal economy?
Yes, but if you don't mind, I would like to comment on the first question as well. I have an interesting story to share. So we need to recognize that refugees are a very diversified group, and in this group we have people who leave forcefully the country they are escaping the war, but at the same time they leave it in a very planned and thought through way, meaning that some people, especially when we are talking about entrepreneurial people, they first of all they have experience, they business experience in their home country, so they relocate, they either restart the business in their host country, they often relocate actually their business, meaning they arrange transport of equipment, smaller or bigger depending on the business, but foremost they also transfer their assets, their cash in quite large amounts, and here very often they really face barriers in terms of registering and paying for cash transfer. So that's something, I don't want to go into details, but that's definitely something from the perspective of the system that is a barrier for those entrepreneurial people to relocate their business. Now, to this second question, which is a very good question about distorting the market, because from the macroeconomic perspective, we know that still in Europe, migrants and refugees, they really contribute to economy, right? So there is definitely having them in the region is helps the European economy. Actually, it's a very interesting perspective, and we didn't really look into this in terms of the numbers or proper research. It is interesting perspective. How does it, how the appearance of those informal businesses, how does it impact other vulnerable groups? What I can say for sure is that still most of at least in case of Poland, what we see, in order to really operate a scale, you need to register the business at some point. So sooner or later, if you want to grow, if you really want to earn proper money to sustain yourself, to rent decent quality apartment, so at some point you need to have an income that needs to be registered. So so that's one thing. Also, if I guess my guess would be that most in case of Ukrainians here in Poland, most of the informal services are still delivered to diaspora. So if you want to go outside, again, if you want to go outside diaspora, you need to have more formalized services. However, it is interesting to look how this impacts other vulnerable groups, and I don't really have the proper numbers here.
Thank you. I think we had another question here from Daniela. If we can get the mic, please. The microphone. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the great presentations. I'm Daniela Aydin from the Council of Europe Development Bank, and I wanted to ask a question, pretty much a variation of the question that was asked before. And I was intrigued by the challenge of actually identifying refugees to be employed in these enterprises. And I was wondering, Erdal, if you could tell us a bit more about the geographical implementation of this pilot. Could it be related to where the migrants, refugees are usually located? And also my second question would be about the outreach. I understand you don't have databases of refugees who have been trained. So how the enterprises do their outreach? And also if you know anything about the salaries that are provided to the refugees, are they receiving, at least the minimum salary in Turkey? Could it be related to that? Because I've heard, refugees could, refuse if they don't have a salary that's enough for their needs, or it's far from where they're living. So I'm trying to probe a little bit more into the challenges. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. So in terms of location, while we are designing the program, we have actually conducted this study to understand where are these refugees people are located, and what is the potential of the sectors in terms of, providing open job opportunities, and what are the number of SMEs active in those provinces. And afterwards, based on, I think, 20 indicators, we have created a matrix, and we have selected the provinces where this program will be implemented. In the first phase of the program, we have selected 15 provinces, and these provinces are providing both the potential, but also there are, there are many refugees living in those provinces. I mean, if you know the country a little bit, I mean, in our programs, we have Gaziantep, we have Şanlıurfa, Kilis, the border regions to Syria. But in addition to that, we have developed provinces like Istanbul, Izmir, Kocaeli, Ankara, where many of those SMEs are located. Therefore, I don't see that there is a mismatch in terms of, the location selected and where the refugees are living. And in the second phase of the program, EU decided to increase the number of provinces from 15 to 20. So even 5 more provinces are added to the project implementation region. And in terms of outreach, we have tried to establish cooperation with the employment agency in Turkey, İşkur. But then it is a little bit tricky because they are also defining their main purpose as finding jobs for Turkish citizens, not for the Syrians. And we tried to find the solution, and consciously, let's say, in terms of the job requirements, we were adding like Arabic language. And this giving a clear signal to the job seekers, this is for the Syrians. I mean, the number of people speaking Arabic in Turkey among the Turkish citizens is pretty much limited. Therefore, we tried to tweak a little bit, and we tried to find a solution with that. But if you're asking my personal experience while discussing with the SMEs, I think those refugees, they have their own informal networks. Usually, many things are going through WhatsApp groups and stuff like that. And if you have a friend as an SME, you know, as an SME owner, if you have a friend employing a refugee, then you can easily go to that SME owner and say, look, man, I need a refugee as well. So do you know anyone? Then that owner will contact with the refugee employee, and this refugee employee will tell the whole community that there is an open job available. So why don't you go and apply for the job? So many things are going informally among the refugee community. And in terms of salaries, of course, by law, our SMEs, they cannot provide any salary lower than the minimum wage applicable in the country. And this is true for our program as well. And this we are checking through the Social Security Institution database in terms of not only premium days, but also in terms of amount, how much you have spent for employing those refugees. So it's definitely not lower than the minimum wage, but there is no also upper limit. So you can pay more than the minimum wage to your employees. And this is also a little bit related with how much support you are going to receive from the program. We are not willing to, let's say, compensate for the whole wage you're paying to your employees, but we have defined some limits in terms of, let's say, the total amount of support you're receiving from the program. Minimum 50% in the grant facility, minimum 50% should be for personal expenses, for staff expenses, which means that the remaining 50% should be related with your investment, should be related with your machinery, equipment purchase. Because our idea is pretty much simple. We are believing that those wage subsidies, they are very short-term interventions. They will not work in the future, because when the program is over, this is very much related with your question as well, those employees will be fired because there is no incentive to keep them inside. But if you increase the capacity of those SMEs, the job opportunity will be a natural outcome. I have an increased capacity and I need more stuff. And now I'm filling this stuff with new people, including refugees. So we believe that it should be designed in such a way. We need to improve the capacity of those SMEs so that they can create job opportunities for people. And ideally, our program will intervene at that point, ensuring that refugees are also considered as employees for fulfilling those open job places. That's it.
Thank you. It's good to hear, also about how you define the challenges and what you have done to address them. So I would like to piggyback on that and ask Filippo, what would you say, very shortly in 1 minute, are or is one of the main challenges for refugee integration in the area where you're working?
Yes. The refugees, when arrive in Italy, they need a place to stay and a job, so they don't think about the financial education. They have this need, but they're not willing about this need. So the program helps us to figure out how to intercept this need, and the refugees too. Just think about Georgian women, for instance, that come to Italy. Many of them, they take a loan, informal loan from friends, and then they have to repay the capital, for instance, 5,000 euro capital. And as long as they don't repay the capital, they have to pay each month to 200 euros or even more. So they really need to know what is the capital, the difference between the capital and interest rate, and they have to know that is illegal in Italy. So there is much of, and also when you get a job in Italy, you need a bank account, but also you need to know how to deal with banks. So the need is huge, and we are figuring out how to reach all the refugees and bring them in the class.
Thank you. That's very important, and I think from what I know about the project you're working on, very, very relevant to Torino and the region. Eva, would you have anything to add? What in your view is one of the main challenges for economic integration?
As I said, as I said earlier, support receiving in their language, refugees' language. So information about the financial system, information about the business environment delivered in local language. That's the answer to the challenge. So which helps them really to navigate within the system.
Okay, thank you. That's also very relevant, and I think it has been touched upon by the others as well. What about our audience in the room? Anything you would like to share with us from your experience? Anything you want to add in terms of challenges that you think are key? Yes.
On this topic, there was a lot of mistrust of the financial institutions by the refugees, and one of the solutions that we heard was hire refugees to work for, for their micro or for your program, so that they're hearing this outreach from it. Has that been part of any of these programs?
Eva, did you get the question or not? No, because do you mind repeating with the microphone, please? Thank you.
Hi, Ava. This is Amelia with SPTF. My question was, has any of your programs, so for you, but also for Erdal and Filippo, found that you needed to hire members of the refugee population in order to have them trust that they want to participate in your programs? Because that's a summary.
So let me start. So we definitely in our project we definitely engaged people who speak Ukrainian. So these were actually Ukrainians who arrived in Poland maybe before the war. Before the war simply, but they would speak Ukrainian and they would easily relate to the target group. And we know from experience of our member MFIs that actually having people from the community of refugees, that's what is essential in providing services, be it financial or non-financial services.
Unfortunately, I don't have a good answer to this question because Turkey is really problematic on that point, and the social tension in the country is pretty much high. So I cannot imagine a financial service provider in Turkey, providing products in Arabic language or offering, or employing refugees so that they can serve refugees. It's extremely too early for Turkey. So this was the only way we found out how we can integrate financial service providers into the picture. And in this case, if you remember our program, refugees are somehow indirect beneficiaries. And banks can easily say, okay, I'm providing this loan to the Turkish SMEs. So it's classical SME lending for them. And we are paying a lot of attention while selecting our messages to the public, because with just one wrong message, you can mess up and you can create a big disaster in Turkey. It's really working on a very thin line in Turkey, and you need to be very cautious about that. But in terms of, additional challenges, Nida, if you allow me, I can maybe add a couple of things about the work permit. So if you're talking about an employment program, formal employment program, obviously you need an official work permit. And this whole process should be very easy and should be less costly, inexpensive for the refugees. And I can say Turkey is making great progress in this area. So we have, I think 5 years ago, we have granted those refugees, Syrians, the right to obtain work permit. And we have even provided this work permit to be obtained at a very low rate. Let's say a Ukrainian is coming to Turkey and applying for the work permit. I don't know, they should pay like 5,000 Turkish lira, but refugees, Syrian refugees, they are paying only 1,000, something like that. And recently we have adopted a new law in Turkey, and right now Syrians are exempted from the work permit procedure. So just go to an SME, and with your foreign ID, you can easily get registered to the social security institution. You don't have to apply for the official work permit procedure, and without the official work permit, you are allowed to work formally in the SMEs. So this was a huge improvement for the formal employment of Syrians in the country.
Thank you. Filippo, anything you want to add in terms of employing refugees or people from different communities? I know you work a lot with them.
Yes, in Italy we are quite strong in welcoming migrants. We have within the program we work with many operators, many local operators that have their own program for the first 6 months or 12 months. They welcome refugees, they host refugees, and they start to have some program for instance the language, the job orientation, and so on. In the program we have a specialized operator that work with refugees for the job orientation. So after 6 months in Italy, you can looking for a job. And in the program, we also have a very a piloting program, a very interesting one. We get 50,000 euro for professional training program, and we able to give for 35 people, these unemployed people, this money. And so they start with 3 months or 6 months professional education program. And then the most part of them, they're able to enter into the market, demonstrate they know to do things, and start a job.
Thank you. I know we are running a little bit over time, but since we started a little bit later, I'd like to take another 2-3 minutes to conclude by asking our panelists to say in one word, 30 seconds, one short sentence, what is your main lesson in implementing projects on economic integration of refugees and forcibly displaced people? Maybe we start with Eva.
So I would say BDS and financial risk addressing. Maybe it's more than one word, but I think in order to really scale up the support for refugees from financial institutions perspective, MFIs need to really get support to reach out to those more risky groups. And there is a need for business development services or simply support services for refugees. So partnerships of MFIs with support providers or any type of blended instruments. And I think CEB is doing a great job here. This is really what we need in order to scale up the outreach.
Thank you. Erdal?
Yeah, this is a very hard question in 30 seconds. I think I can repeat what I have said at the beginning of this session. So economic integration is not only about financial inclusion, it's definitely playing a key role, but we need to think about employment as well. And employment opportunities provided to those refugees is also helping us to improve social integration. Because just imagine a case like refugees and Turkish people in my case, they're working together, they're communicating together, and this will definitely decrease the social tension in the society. So by providing these employment opportunities to the refugees, of course, you're improving the revenue structure for the government, because you're collecting taxes, you're collecting social security premium payments for those refugees. But at the same time, you're helping to the society so that they can live together in the future.
Filippo?
Yes, be a microfinance institution in Italy, but in Western countries is a tough job. We deal every day with economical sustainable of our business. So we need plenty of things, money to give money, but also money to have the time to invest and rethink about our BDS services. But I think one thing is very important. It's important that our sponsor push up to be more and more innovative, because if we want to scale up this kind of program, for instance, of the educational point of view or BDS point of view, we have to be more digitalized to reach more people on the internet, on the apps, and so on. So push to be more innovative. It's a key thing.
Thank you. I think all of this really resonates well with the lessons learned that we have at the CEB in implementing for over 65 years projects in refugee integration. We have learned that flexibility is key, being agile, partnerships, especially those with migrant-led organizations, are really crucial for any intervention to work. Advocacy and awareness raising of institutions, public institutions, is important to break the stigma. And definitely a combination or pooling of different sources of financing, including blending for interventions of this kind. And yeah, it is clear we all have our work really cut out for us. So I would like to thank you for your participation. Thank you to our panelists for the very insightful discussion. And hopefully see you next year with results from Turkey. Have a good day of the conference.
Thank you.